We've asked Tia to introduce our speaker.
I love you too. Addict named Tia. So I first met our speaker in 2021, I believe, back in my first round of coming into the rooms in Narcotics Anonymous. And this was back before I took the program seriously at all. So my reason for going to meetings was to get a paper signed and sit on my phone the whole time. And I ventured into Tuesday night meeting in Bridgeport, West Virginia, 6 p.m. And I was greeted with two things. One, the best hug I've ever gotten. And two, a really thick Baltimore accent. And little did I know the same Baltimore accent would be telling me to get off my phone 10 minutes later. And I don't know, I had this sort of fear in that moment because it was the first time someone told me what to do. And I listened. And I had to go out for some more research and development after that, but when I came back into Narcotics Anonymous, I got involved in service work because you guys told me to get involved with service work. And I remember jumping onto the area service meeting on the Zoom platform, and I heard that same Baltimore accent coming through the screen. And it kind of felt like home. And it was the first time I've had that feeling in a really long time. And 2 years ago, right here in Ripley, I sat in a workshop called Sponsorship is a Two-Way Street. And I listened to all you guys give your experience, strength, and hope on sponsorship and what your sponsor meant to you and those relationships. And I thought of one person the entire time, and that person wasn't my current sponsor. But I couldn't wait to leave here and ask Kristy to be my sponsor because she's the only person I could think of that I wanted to help me work the steps in Narcotics Anonymous. And Kristy's clean time, although it's extremely admirable because it's a lot, that's not what draws me to her. What draws me to her is the spiritual fitness that she exudes with everything she says, and she's the strongest woman I know. Not only mentally, emotionally, but physically as well. Everything that she ever has to face, she faces it head on. And if you need help facing something, she also does that. I've never met anyone that cares more about the newcomer and is still sick and suffering, and that would literally give the shirt off their back to any of us. I could stand up here and tell you everything I admire about her for 2 hours, but then you wouldn't get the chance to hear her speak, and that would be a huge mistake. So I give you Kristy.
I'm Kristy, I'm an addict. She got me fucking tearing up before I even start this thing. So, can everybody hear me? I'm a big mouth anyway. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so let's talk about, alright, she already spilled the beans. Talk. I met a guy today, dude over there, and he's like, where are you from? I said, Clarksburg. He's like, no, where are you from? So I'm originally from Baltimore. But we're going to talk about how I'm standing at this podium today. Exactly 1 year ago today, Andy W. Raise your hand, Andy W. Hey! My good friend, I watched him walk into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I watched him walk out. I watched him walk right back in. 1 year ago at this time, he was standing at this exact podium saying, I dreamed of this day ever since I got clean. Well, you want to know how I feel about standing up here? Yeah. What happened? I feel like this is off to the side. Can I move it just a little bit without fucking shut up? Okay, so what happened was, I believe it was last spring convention. Don't quote me on this because no women at all put their resume in to be a speaker. So anybody, how many black and golds out here for doing what you're told? Yeah. So my sponsor gave me the suggestion to put the resume in to be a speaker. She's like, you're a powerful speaker, you got a great story, they need more women standing up there doing that. So I'm not good with cell phones and shit like that. Technology is not my thing. So that's where Tia comes in. So she's doing the typing, emailing, thing of it for me. Yeah, that's how much I know. So she's asking me things like, what's your clean date? You know, do you sponsor people? Yeah. Do you have a sponsor? Yeah. Do you work steps? Yeah. Do you hold a service position? Yeah. You know that. You know I hold service positions. She's like, come on, Kristy, work with me. I'm like, Tia, I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm just going to put the resume in because it's the right thing to do. All this time that I've been clean, I have never not taken a suggestion that my sponsor has given me. And the amount of time I've been clean, I've had 5 sponsors in the amount of time I've been clean. When I got clean, I walked into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. There was only 5 women in North Central West Virginia that had over a year clean, had sponsors, and were working steps. So my options were very limited. So when you're walking into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous today, there is such a variety. You can meet people with 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Like, I was very limited. But over these years, I have had each one of them. And actually, the sponsor I have right now, my 5th sponsor was also my 3rd sponsor. And that shows you how healthy the relationship was, that we had a falling out, we went our separate ways, and then years later, I came back and said, hey, would you be willing to sponsor me again? So I'll tell you a little bit about my life growth. I just always like to know, like, a little bit about people's lives, you know. So I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I have 2 siblings. We were dirt poor, till I was in 5th grade. When I was in 5th grade, it was like a game changer for me, because when we went, to this day, I will not eat a hot dog. We ate so many hot dogs when I was growing up. I don't care what you do. Cut them up, put them in beans, fry them, boil them, put them on a bun. It's still a hot dog. And it's one of those things, like, my parents did what they had to do to feed us and make everything okay, but at a point in time, my mother went back to school and programmed computers. So this is in the late 70s. Yeah, I'm starting to show my age, ain't I? Anyway, so it was a game changer. So I went from feeling like less than poor, you know, not living up to everybody else's standards, to like all of a sudden we're in this tax bracket where we can get the best of the best. We can have the nice clothes and we don't have to eat hot dogs and stuff anymore. But before this change happened, don't even get this twisted. I'm not standing up here justifying my using. I used because I wanted to use. I walked into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and I wanted to blame everybody else for my problems. You know, you did an intervention on my brother, you didn't do one on me. You know, my husband was 10 years older than me, he showed me stuff I wanted to blame everybody else. But once I truly started working the Narcotics Anonymous program, got a sponsor, the higher power, working steps, there was no more luxury of denial and lying about the reality of what I've done to make this mess. So at the age of 5, I was at this family event thing, and there was 4 adults there and 2 children, and I was forced to eat ants. So at this point in my life, over 50 years later, I still, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you how much I hate ants. They made my resentment list the first time around. I went to my sponsor and I said, this is going to sound really weird, but can like an insect be on my resentment list? And she's like, well, if you feel like it is. Well, I went through the steps 4 times now. My 5th time through, they didn't make it. I still don't like ants. But, you know, that happened when I was 5 years old, and it was very traumatic for me. Then I had a neighbor that was torturing animals and stuff in front of me, and I kept going to my parents saying, like, these things are happening. And the way I was raised was, if they're an adult, doesn't matter if it's the mailman, the milkman, the neighbor, aunt, uncle, it didn't matter. If an adult told you to do something, you did it. So, like, my parents the neighbor would tell me to go sit on my porch and then, like, try to chop a turtle's head off, all this stuff. But when I was 7, he shot himself in the head in front of me. And I was like, you know, I walked in the house, and the response I got was the same response I always got. Don't talk about it. Because I grew up, if you don't talk about it, it's not really happening. If you don't talk about it, then we don't have to deal with it. I'm a shover. I shove all that shit down and try not to deal with it. And that's what, like I said, I don't want to act like I'm standing up here justifying. I'm standing up here saying, like, when I started getting high at the age of 12, I immediately realized that I love being outside of my own state of mind. I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to feel my feelings. Because I got to feel my feelings, but I can't talk to any adult about what's going on. So at the age of 12, I started using. And I would say, you know, we all know the progression of the disease, where like it starts off as, you know, doing it on the weekends, then barely making it through high school. I got sat down my last year of high school, and they said, if you don't go through all your classes, you're not going to graduate with your class. And that was just too embarrassing for me. So I buckled down, made it through, did it. But then as soon as I graduated, I graduated on a Saturday, May of 1987. And that Tuesday, I got thrown out of my house. So it was a very young age. Back then, when your parents could pick if they would force you ahead. They could put you in kindergarten, they could put you in first grade. So I graduated when I was 17 years old, and I thought I was hot shit. You know, I'm 17 years old, you can't tell me what to do. So when my father came to me, he said, you know, you can either take your vehicle, all your clothes, stuff like that, and leave, and we don't care where you go, or you can join the military, which I think is your best bet. And I didn't think the military was going to be okay with my using, so I chose to just leave the house. It was at a very, very young age I learned to sink or swim. It only took me 4 months old, so that was in May. I turned 18 that September. So by the time I'm 18 years old, I already have my own apartment, I'm paying bills, I'm just figuring my way through this world. The progression of the disease was going on all this time. You know, then I got married. Got married in 1990, and that's another thing. I don't justify the fact that he was 10 years older and introduced me to stuff that I have never seen before. But throughout this marriage, it was not a good marriage. I'll just put it that way. We had children. So my first introduction to Narcotics Anonymous was 1990, which was the year I got married. So if I would have gotten clean when I was first introduced to Narcotics Anonymous, I would have gotten clean at 21 years old. Sometimes I kick myself in the ass, like, damn, girl, you stayed out there all that time. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. It is what it is. I got it when I got it, and I'm very, very grateful that I did get it. I can tell you my attitude being ordered by the court to different facilities and stuff like that. I would show up because I had to get a piece of paper signed, and I sat there with my arms folded and gave that don't even fucking come up to me. Like, I don't want nobody to hug me. My hometown, the meetings are give or take about this big. I don't know how many people are here. We'll just give you the short version. From 1990 to 2003, those 13 years, in the beginning, I really did not think I was an addict. I go AMA at every facility. Now, this is not the way it has to be. I'm just telling you my story. Going in and out of jail, going in and out of rehab for 13 years. Thinking that I didn't have a problem. But in 1997, my daughter was just born. She was like 6 months old. And I can remember standing there holding her, waiting for my husband to come home from work. And it was the first realization I ever had, because I was dope sick and I'm waiting for him to get home. I'm like, I'm an addict. The realization came over me. I felt like all the blood flushed from my head, like my heart dropped to my stomach, and I'm like, I don't want to be an addict. I don't want to be an addict. But that's not the cards that I was dealt. So having said that, in 1997, so I'm in and out of rehab, jail, meetings, paper sign, urine test, the whole, from 1990 to 1997, not one time do I say I'm Kristy, I'm an addict. Not one time. In 1997, when I realized I'm an addict, I still don't go to a meeting and say I'm an addict. But looking back on it now, all those times I was court ordered to be there. So if I walked into a meeting and they're talking about steps, sponsorship, higher power, spiritual principles, traditions, you lost me. You lost me because I have no knowledge of this stuff you're talking about. What I realized was I only liked hearing a lead, or a speaker, whatever you want to call it. That's all I wanted to hear because that's all I could relate to. How bad was it? And how good is your life now? I didn't realize at that point in time the seed was being planted. Because fast forward to all these years, we're in 2026 now. I remember what a woman shared in Baltimore at her lead about working at a hospital and she could smell her own feet coming up through her shoes and stuff. That stuck with me, whether I realized that the seed was being planted or not. Now that I've been in the program, I realized I was paying a little bit of attention. I just wasn't open-minded. I just wasn't willing. I walked away from Narcotics Anonymous and I'm like, that program doesn't work. That program does not work. And what it is I didn't work the program. I never truly worked the program. I never truly took the suggestions, meeting makers make it. I mean, I went to a meeting when I had to, blah, blah, blah. I just never took the suggestions that were going on. I just glanced over at Andy. So I have tissues on me because we need to talk about something. Well, a big part of my story, I know I'm guilty, is the fact that I got clean. Well, you want to know how I ended up here in West Virginia? You want to find that shit out? Yeah. So I had enough. I was homeless for about 2 years, living in abandonments, don't know what you call them here, but projects that are getting ready to get torn down, so there's no gas, electricity, water, anything like that, and I'm staying in abandonments. And I just decide one night that I'm going to spend my precious drug money and I'm going to buy a bus ticket and I'm going to show up here in West Virginia. Because at that point in time when I showed up here, both my grandmothers were alive. I had 28 aunts and uncles and there's over 50 cousins. So basically everybody was raised here in this state except for 6 of us. There were 6 of us born and raised in Baltimore. So I took my precious drug money and I bought a bus ticket and I ended up in Morgantown. That's not where I needed to be, but that's where I ended up. So I ended up getting a ride with some random dude that's car parked, didn't get dropped off in some other, Ohio or some shit. And I said, hey, how about you give me a ride to this town? And I don't really want to mention the town because I fucking hate it. Grafton. Anyway, so I get this guy to take me to my grandmother's house. And when I get there, my dad comes out on the porch and greets me. I didn't know at that point in time that my parents had moved back to West Virginia. They leave, they always come back. All my cousins, they leave, everybody comes back to beautiful, wonderful West Virginia. And he met me on the porch and asked me what I was doing there. And I said, I don't know. It's a last-ditch effort to save my life, but I really don't fucking care anymore. And I sat the duffel bag down, and the duffel bag I showed up here with, I had $16, I had a half a pack of cigarettes, and I had 3 outfits in that duffel bag. And I sat the duffel bag down. And one of my favorite things about my clean date, besides the fact that I got clean, is the day I showed up in West Virginia. My clean date is August 2nd of 2003. So... fucking miracle, isn't it? It is a miracle. And I went down and I laid in an abandoned house. Another thing I can't stand to this day is the sound of trains. That motherfucking train and I'm dope sick. So I'm going into the corner of the house and I'm puking and I'm shitting and I'm picking up dirty clothes and laying on a mattress that, it sounds like a different person I'm talking about, but that's me. That's me, standing up here in front of you today with 22 years clean. That is me. And when I came out of the house, I laid there for 3 days, and I came up out of the house, and I really didn't know the town that well. I said, whatever comes first. If I come to that bridge first, I'm going to fucking jump off of it. If I come to that gas station first, I'm going to buy a pack of cigarettes and figure out my next game move. That was my game plan, coming up out of that house. And when I walked up out of the house, my mother was standing there and was like, where have you been? Your dad, your uncles, everybody's riding around looking for you. And I'm like, well, you told me to go away. So they got me into treatment. They sent me to an 8-day detox, sent me to another 8-day detox. Then they sent me to a 28-day program. And I can remember getting to that, and I still see this nurse from time to time. They get me down to this 28-day program in Fairmont. I fucking never heard of Fairmont before. Didn't know what Fairmont was. And I said, I want to know exactly where in West Virginia I am. You know, with this real aggressive, like, where am I going to go? Where the hell? I got $16 a half a pack of cigarettes, a bad attitude, a bad dope problem, and nowhere to go. So why does it matter where in West Virginia they have me? That was just my attitude before I got clean. I was aggressive. I was confrontational. You know, I wanted to prove you wrong. I have to be right. But just bad attitude the whole way around. If I didn't get my way, I made you so miserable, you either gave me my way or you walked away because you just couldn't handle me anymore. When we're going to talk about the kids for a minute. So I had my daughter in 1997, and I had my son in 1999. Now, if you're paying attention, I didn't get clean until 2003. So I was in my 12th treatment facility. They sent me to the Eastern Shore, and this is in Maryland. They sent me like a few hours away going, she ain't gonna make it back. Fuck, I'm an addict. I can get around. So I left that treatment facility, AMA. There's a surprise. Came home and CPS had gotten involved in my life. So what happened at that point in time was my parents stepped up to the plate and they took the kids. So I have the day where I have the loss where I physically had to hand my children over to my parents. Then we fought in court. They just kept, it is what it is. You know what it is? It's all my fault. That's what it is. I was the one getting high. They weren't getting high. They did what was best for those kids. They kept those kids together. They went to doctors, dentists, vacations, kept them around the family. So it just kept getting tied up in court. So after I had 13 months clean, I go back, I just got my driver's license back, just got a vehicle. I'm going to drive myself back. Other than that, people in the program kept taking me back for all my court issues. And I went back that time and they said, because your time frame, what's best for the kids and what's best for, like what you think and what's actually best for them, they've been with your parents long enough. For that reason, we terminate your parental rights. So that's the second time I felt like I lost them. And what happened that day, I left the courtroom. I was fucking devastated. I didn't even know if I wanted to be clean anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be in the pain that I was in, but I didn't know how to cope with such a severe pain. And this is when there was, for forever, it was like, what did it say? Wild, wonderful West Virginia. Welcome to wild, wonderful, almost heaven. This was fucking open for business. Remember that dumbass? But anyway. And the thing is like, I barely remember that. That's like a 4-hour drive, and I barely remember the drive because I'm crying so bad. And I can remember driving down strips that I used to cop dope and looking over and thinking, I'll just get one. And I won't do it the way I used to do it. But literally, my higher power, I had 13 months clean, so the program was already ingrained in me. And the next thing I know, I'm crossing the West Virginia line. Then I'm back in Fairmont, because I lived in Fairmont my first 5 years clean. And I didn't get high. And I can stand up here today and tell you that is the last time I've thought about getting high. I really thought about, fuck it, what's it all for? So you have the day that my kids were physically taken away from me. You have the day that my parental rights were terminated. About a year later, my aunt sat me down and she said, I have something to tell you. I know when I'm getting to sit down, I have something to tell you. I'm not going to fucking like it. She said, your parents have legally adopted your children and changed their last name. Here's the thing. This is a big part of my story. This is a big part of my story to have stayed clean this long with the promise of, hey, if you get a year clean, we'll incorporate the kids back in your life. I never felt that feeling again. This is my 22-year medallion. I have never, ever, ever spoke without holding a medallion in my hand. My medallion. And the thing is like, I never got that feeling again, like I did picking up that first year clean. Because my addict head had so much expectations that I got this year clean, they're going to start incorporating my kids back into my life. Well, my kids, my daughter just turned 29, and my son is going to be 27 in August. So now you're at a whole nother level of fucking pain. Because they're adults, and they're out on their own, and they're making their own decision to not be in my life. I used to say for quite a few years, I'm like, you don't want to hear my story. You don't want to know my story. My story doesn't have a happy ending. But I stopped saying that probably about 5 years. I'll tell you, I know when I stopped saying it. August of 2020. August of 2020, my dad died. And I got the phone call, hey, got some bad news for you, your dad just died. But your mom doesn't want you at the funeral. So that was the point in time 6 years ago, well, almost 6 years ago, that I realized that my story's not over. Instead of coming into it going, my story doesn't have a happy ending, my fucking story ain't over. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still working the program to the best of my ability, and I'm still clean. So, as long as I'm alive, as long as there's a life, I still have a little bit of hope. Some days are better than others. There's like my higher power has come to me a few times. I knew the kids had to be talked about. Like, I don't like talking about it. And so many people here in my life, been in my life for over 20 years, don't even know my kids' names. You know why I don't know their names? Because I don't fucking say them. Because it's too painful. So I'm going to say it. My daughter is Lindsay, and my son is Gage. And I hope that one day they do come looking for me and make contact. And I hope that they can be proud of the person that they find, the person that's standing here in front of you today that has, I feel like I've completely turned my life around. I was standing outside smoking before this started, and this young man came up to me, gave me the biggest hug. He said, I know you don't know me, but I know you. I said, how do you know me? He said, you brought a H&I meeting into this facility that I was at 8 years ago. Thank you. Thank you for telling me that. I need to hear shit like that sometimes. I do service because I want to. I want to give back, but then another part of me is very selfish. I do service because I want to fucking stay clean. I want to change. I want to grow. Tia and I did an H&I meeting, 2 weeks ago? And it made me so grateful. It's not me sitting there in that facility wondering where I'm going to go when I'm released from this facility. It's a wonderful, wonderful, powerful feeling. Now, I'm looking around the room. There's so many people in this room. I have so many history lists, but I want to give a special shout out to my homies who drove here today. So we're going to talk a little bit about how important a home group is. Of course, Narcotics Anonymous, the higher power, the sponsor of the Working Steps. But I'm going to tell you a little story. This August will be 12 years. So all you have to do is get a resentment, a coffee pot, find a new meeting place, bring it to the area, and bam, there you go with a new meeting. So what happened? It's really twisted how it happened. It was almost like the guys against this girl also at this home group that I was at. And we went to Parkersburg to hear one of the females give her lead, show support. And when we went, they knew we were leaving. They voted us all out of our positions. So we're like, okay, we're just going to start another home group. And I want to talk about that for a minute, how important it is to make a commitment, stick to it, and see it through no matter what. No matter what. So 12 years ago, the beginning of August, we started this home group. There was 5 of us. There was 5 members there. And 2 of them fell off immediately. And then 2 other ones hung in there for a couple years. And I felt that feeling of abandonment. There was 5 of us that started the meeting. And then what would happen is somebody like Andy would come along and show support. And, let me tell you this. I sat alone in that meeting more times than I care to even think about. But I kept showing up and kept making sure and kept hoping and praying that more people would come through. I can tell you this, over these 12 years, there's long periods of time where the common denominator is me and one other person, me and 2 other people, and we are absolutely thriving now. If you are in Bridgeport, West Virginia on a Tuesday or Thursday night at 6 o'clock, come see us at the Olsen. Somebody from another area, not mentioning names, Tia, showed up last week, and she's like, this is my favorite meeting to come to. And it just makes my heart so happy, because when I got clean in Fairmont in 2003. That was where really, really strong recovery was. I never knew if I just hung in there and waited, didn't give up before the miracle happened, that recovery would come towards me. If you're not familiar with the area, it's like Clarksburg and Bridgeport border each other. So when Tia calls me and it's like, where do you want us to say that you're from? I'm walking up and I see my name on the door, Kristy K, Clarksburg, and I'm like, holy shit, this is happening, ain't it? This is really happening. She said, where do you want to say you're from? From Clarksburg or Bridgeport? And I almost said, Baltimore. But that brings me back to Brad. My very first convention here was November of 2003. In November of 2003, I was just in awe of everything I was seeing. I couldn't get over it. I couldn't grasp the lower you got in the clean time, the crazier the crowd went. The hug as big as a football field. Everything was so just awe-inspiring to me. And we get to the state recognition, and he turned to me. And I was only here for 3 months. I only had 3 months clean my first convention. He said, I swear to God, if you stand up for Maryland, I'm going to fucking punch you. Yeah, because, that right there, I felt like an outsider. I had only been here 3 months. You think this is thick now? Go back 22 years ago. It was a lot thicker. And I was very, Everything was fast, everything was intense, everything. I don't understand road rage in West Virginia. Let's talk about road rage in West Virginia for just, how the fuck you guys have road rage here? I mean, I don't even understand it at all. Oh my God, I had to wait for a flagger. I mean, I said, go to Baltimore, man. You gotta fight to get on the interstate. You gotta go like, 100 miles an hour. Ain't no. This is the most courteous state in the entire United States in so many ways, and especially when it comes to driving. You go to merge onto the interstate, what does that person do? Think about it. They get in the left-hand lane. They get out of your way. So you guys are absolutely stuck with me here in West Virginia. Angela's talking about, like, going to Greece or some shit, and I said, you go pay for my whole trip. I ain't leaving this country. Ain't no way. I'm not that. I ain't even leaving West Virginia. I look over at Angela K, and I want to talk about, I've been through some major things since I've been clean. My higher power's telling me to talk about a couple major things that happened in my life. And in 2023, I had to have both my hips replaced, and I had them done. Megan's, because you came out too, yeah. It's like, let me tell you how much I love my recovery and how much I safeguard my recovery. And talking to these doctors and letting them say what they're going to say, but at the end of the day, it's my decision. I am the one that's responsible for my recovery. So I went into it with the mindset that the pain couldn't be any worse than what I'm in right now. Like the hip on the right side just kept falling out of socket. Leg would lock up, it was bad. That's an addict behavior. Take the pain till you can't take it anymore. Pain is a great motivator to want to change and do something. So, I go to the doctors, I talk to the doctors, blah, 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 and they said, you're going to need medicine. My higher power is telling me to talk about this. I really didn't want to, but I think somebody needs to hear it. That's why it's coming out. So I said, no, absolutely not, absolutely not. Angela K put her life on hold for a few days to come out and stay with me. Okay? And I can remember right before this started, I have this thing where I'm walking on the walker and I'm going, you're okay. It's okay. You're okay. And she's in my living room. She's like, do you need me? What are you saying? What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm telling myself I'm okay. I'm okay. You're okay. It's okay. Really didn't know where I got it from. We'll get into the rescue and Rottweilers. Then on my second surgery, Samantha L., who is not here tonight, stayed with me. And the point I want to bring behind this is that's when you find out who your real friends are. When everybody's clean, making good money, times are rolling good, everything's great, everybody loves everybody. For me, I found out who my true friends were when I was at the lowest point of my life. Honest to God, didn't even know if I could wipe my own butt. And that's what Angela's like, well, we getting ready to go to a different level? I'm like, I hope not, because this will just be weird. But I hate more. Don't touch my feet. Don't even fucking look at them. Don't look at them. Don't even look down at my shoes right now. I know you want to. But I couldn't bend over. So she is pregnant at that point in time. And next thing I know, she's been down there with a bowl, soap and water, washing my fucking feet for me. And I just surrendered and said, man, what a good friend, because I don't know if I touch your fucking feet. I'm not the one. I got this weird ass shit. Don't fucking ask me to touch your feet, rub your feet, shit like that. So going through those major surgeries and having people in the program come out to my house and, hey, you need me to go to the grocery store for you? What do you need? Blah, blah, blah. It shows, let me put it to you this way. I can't count on my blood family like that. The people I share the same blood with, I don't call them. I did call my aunt when Angela had to leave me, and I said, I don't think I'm ready to be left alone. She said, well, my hairdresser's coming into town. We're going to go drinking all weekend. I said, okay. I don't turn to my family and ask them to do anything for me. I see some nods out there. Yeah, I love my family, don't get me wrong, but I'm working a 12-step program. Nothing about them has changed. They are the same sick people. They don't have Narcotics Anonymous, higher power, sponsor, working steps to change and grow. And for that, I'm grateful that I have that in my life, that I'm not the same person that walked into the rooms 22 years ago. Now, if you notice my shirt today, we're going to talk about this for a minute. Anybody notice my shirt today? About Rottweilers. That has been a big part of my life since I got clean. And this is something else I'm going to say out loud. I just don't talk about things. So I started with Rottweilers in 1990. I got clean in 2003. 2005, I started rescuing them. I just rescued my 9th one in December. Why do I always have a boy and a girl? I never talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it tonight. Oh, Andy's intrigued. He just bent his head. Because I have a son and I have a daughter that I want to be taken care of, that I want to do those mothering type things to. I have never bred these Rottweilers, never bred not one Rottweiler that I've saved, and I am there when they pass, and it feels good. It feels good to do like my little part in the world, if that makes sense. If I had more money, I would rescue more. It would be absolute chaos. But right now, I have two 2-year-olds. A female that I rescued out of a van in Amore when she was just weeks old. And then Christmas Eve, I drove down to Elkins, which is an hour away from me, and I rescued this male. So I have two 2-year-olds at the house. You want to know what it's like? It's like 2 fucking T-Rexes running through my house. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Something else my higher power has asked me to talk about, and I'm not real sure why. What do? I get here and I say, I've known about this for months. Every time somebody asks me, I said, I'll just push it out of my head. I've been around long enough, I've spoken enough. You're not going to say anything you think you're going to say anyway. Amen to that? Right. So I never thought, now I woke up today sick to my stomach. Well, it's happening, ain't it? Today is the day. My higher power wants me to talk. I'm not sure why at all, but we're going to. So when I showed up here in West Virginia, you know what I showed up with. I can remember getting clean and thinking, I have completely ruined my life. I have completely ruined my life. My credit score is like 400. I owe so much stuff out there. I have no driver's license. I have no vehicle. I have no home. I have no job. I have nowhere to live. I can remember that feeling of absolute hopelessness. Like, I don't know how to fix what I have created. I have created an absolute mess of my life, and I don't know how to fix it. But I can tell you how I fixed it. I set realistic goals in realistic time frames. I never said, okay, by the end of 2 months, I'm going to get my driver's license back. That wasn't realistic. But I did get it back when I had 13 months clean, drove myself to court, lost custody of the kids. Yeah. I got it back exactly when I was supposed to, right? That's what happened. But through working in the Narcotics Anonymous program, it also taught me, they said, practice these principles in all your affairs. So everything I had learned here in Narcotics Anonymous, I took out there into the world. I am an absolute fucking beast at working. I am a workaholic. Like, what are my addictions? Work. The pool. Who screamed out pool? My pool, I'm getting in my pool tomorrow, people. I'm getting in my pool. I made sure she was clean today. That's right. I looked over at my purse. Football. Go Ravens. Yeah. I don't even want to hear it from you Steelers fucking squealer fans. Get your own football team and stop borrowing Pennsylvania's. I'm addicted to Rottweilers. I'm addicted to Narcotics Anonymous. I feel so grateful and so blessed. Like, I really didn't want to be standing up here today, but I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And right before I did this, I walked in the bathroom and prayed, and I said, let it be your will. I hope I can send a positive message of hope and recovery out there. Like, if I can get clean and stay clean this long, anybody can. And that is because of Narcotics Anonymous. If nobody's told you they loved you today, you're hanging out with the wrong people, because I love you. I'm grateful to be here and grateful to be here.